Our first footsteps are to go after New York Main Street grant. Once we get that, that will lay like the groundwork towards going after other grants to help revitalize some of the buildings that have been sitting derelict for years, like the building right behind me, the old Auchan store, that has been vacant for more than a decade. We need to be able to revitalize these commercial spaces, and there's very valuable housing space above these commercial spaces on Main Street. And I feel if we can actually start to get some commercial spaces and we can revitalize and do the upstairs, the housing portions of these buildings, we can really have a very vibrant downtown area right here in the town of Jay.
Do you see the business part coming first with the housing to follow, the housing coming first to generate traffic that will attract businesses? What's the chicken and egg procedure
I was just going to say
here?
it's the whole chicken and egg situation. I think what's going to need to happen is there's going to need to be grant help for some of these owners to be able to tackle some of the problems. Like some of the buildings behind me have roof issues, so they sit on good bones, but they have been neglected for years. So by getting the roofs done, I think there's probably more money out there to redo the residential spaces to begin with. And I think once you get some people living in more cars on Main Street and people getting out and stopping to see what we have here, I think then the commercial spaces will start to fill themselves once you get more foot traffic. These are the first steps in a marathon. Probably going to be more than a decade before we really see this downtown vibrant like the way I see it should be, and the way it kind of was when I was a kid 30 years ago. I mean, I hear stories when there were, not that this is something to be proud of, but that there were 8 bars in Au Sable Forks, and there was 2 or 3 movie theaters, and there was just so much more happening, 2 or 3 barbers. Now we have one hairstylist in town. We no longer have a pharmacy. We only have one grocery store. We only have one gas station. So there's been a lot of decline in the last 30 years from what I remember as a child.
And are you starting to generate some interest? Are you hearing from people who say, yeah, if the conditions are right, I'll move back into Au Sable Forks and maybe start a business here?
There is interest, and I think a lot of that interest is coming from outside the area. We have new owners in the Au Sable Theater renovating that. There is growth. Some of it is coming from outside investors. I think it's going to take a little bit for some of the homegrown natives to start to see that hope that had been sort of extinguished for quite a few years.
So this used to be a hardware store. Tell me its history and what you hope to do with it.
This building was built in 1928. It housed Auchan hardware for many, many years. And it closed about 10 to 15 years ago and has been sitting vacant since. There are 3 apartments upstairs along with this huge commercial space down in the basement or down in the street level. I would like to see the residential space reutilized. I mean, that's 3 families that could live right here on Main Street. Once you get that foot traffic, I think the commercial space would follow with whether it be a cafe or whether it be little boutique stores. But I think there's a lot of possibility just in this one building.